Welcome to BootSpy. My name is William. Today I'm going to be talking about the difference between saddle soap and mink oil. We're going to talk about whether or not each of these products are good for your boots, how to use them, and we're going to compare the two against each other. So let's get into it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up. Super helpful for the channel, and I really appreciate it. Now, this question of saddle soap versus mink oil, that's a pretty popular question on Google, so I decided to answer it here in this video. Now, you can see the other day I wrote an article about this and kind of treated each of these boots, this one with saddle soap, this one with mink oil, and I did not condition this one after using saddle soap. So you can see the difference between these two boots after using each of these products. There's a really pretty clear reason why they look so different, and I'll go into that right now. Saddle soap is a great tool in your boot care arsenal for cleaning. Now, this is not necessarily a conditioner. I wouldn't use it as a conditioner. It does have some waxes and oils in there that help condition the leather, but it's really meant for washing. As the name suggests, it's essentially a leather soap. So you're going to, and I'll walk through this, how to do this exactly, but basically you're taking a little bit of this, applying some warm water, and then you're gonna scrub the boot down, and that's gonna clear out a lot of dirt, a lot of grime from it, but it's not gonna do a great job in terms of conditioning. On the other hand, you have mink oil, and that is primarily a leather conditioner. This is from SofSole, this one that I'm using as an example. This is made with about 5 to 10% mink oil, pure mink oil. The rest is made from probably beef tallow or mutton tallow, different animal fats to kind of cut the pure mink oil. So when you use mink oil, it essentially, some things that are great about it, it does darken the leather. Some people like that, some people don't. Mink oil helps weatherproof your boot. It helps make the leather a little more supple. So it's a great conditioning agent if you're okay with the fact that it will significantly darken your leather. When it comes down to it, the question of saddle soap versus mink oil, it's kind of moot. It's not really exactly a fair question because these are two different products made for two different purposes. A lot of boots, and what I could have done on this boot was wash it with saddle soap and then finish with mink oil. That's a great way of going about it because essentially you're going to wash and clean your boot, and then you're going to go ahead and condition it. So while saddle soap does have a few conditioning agents in it, it really is not suitable as a conditioner alone. That's when you want to come in with something like mink oil, or you can use Venetian shoe cream, or neat's foot oil, or something else that's going to help push oils and waxes back into your boot, where the saddle soap does strip away a lot of that. So as I said, this boot was already treated with saddle soap a few days ago. You can see how light it is in color. I don't know if you can tell, but it's very dry on top. The upper is getting pretty dry, so it really does need conditioning after you use saddle soap. You do need to condition your boot. It's going to help the leather in the long term a lot. This boot here was treated with mink oil. It is a few shades darker than when I started a few days ago. Before I treated it with mink oil, the leather is super supple, feels really well moisturized, but it is significantly darker. So now I'm going to show you how to use these two products, saddle soap and mink oil. I'm going to kind of swap it up. So like on this boot, I'm going to use saddle soap, show you how I do that. And then on this boot, I'm going to use the mink oil and show you the difference there. Since I have a warm cup of water ready, I'm going to start by saddle soaping this boot that has mink oil on it. This is something you can do if you've treated your boot with mink oil and it's a little too dark and you want to remove some of that, you can do this. Or this is also just a good example of when you need to clean your boots, this is the method you're going to use. Now, a lot of times you'll find like a circular horsehair brush, and that, in my opinion, is the best tool for the job. I don't have one of those, so I'm just gonna use one of these buffing brushes, which is not the best tool for the job, but it's what I got, it's what I'm gonna use. So basically, you get a little hot water, boom, and I'm gonna kind of wet the brush there, and then I'm gonna suds this up a little bit, and this should do a pretty good job. This is kind of old, so it doesn't suds super well, but it suds a decent amount. And basically, you're just gonna go ahead and you're gonna kind of put the saddle soap onto the boot all around, like so. All right, as you can see, I have applied saddle soap pretty evenly around the whole boot, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it off from here. Okay, great. Now that I have wiped off all the excess saddle soap around it, I'm gonna go ahead and with the other side of this brush, I'm going to buff it so everything is even and I kind of get all the soap out of those little crevices and things like that. Okay, this has been fully treated with saddle soap. I am going to let this sit for about, 2 or 3 hours. I'm gonna let it dry out, get some of that moisture out, and then I will probably go ahead and treat it with some sort of leather conditioner after that. So while that dries, I'm going to show you what mink oil can do to a boot. This has been treated with saddle soap, but this goes for any boot that hasn't had any TLC in a while. If the leather's looking dry or starting to crack, or it's about to crack, you definitely want to hit it with some mink oil. It's a solid leather conditioner, but you're going to see just how much it darkens this leather. It's going to be pretty stark. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of mink oil here. I'm using about that much. A lot of people will microwave mink oil to make it a little more liquidy, but to me, the easiest way of going about it is just kind of warming it up in your hands like that, and then just apply the mink oil evenly as you can. You're gonna kind of even this out with a horsehair brush afterwards, but get in there and kind of making sure you cover every spot you can. All right, you can already see just how much darker that leather is. There's still some excess mink oil on top. I'm gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes or so and kind of let that mink oil sink into the pores. You can also do this a second time. You can kind of let it dry a little bit and then reapply another layer of mink oil. I'm not gonna do that on this boot just to save some time, but I'm gonna let this sit for a couple minutes and then come back and I'm gonna buff it with the horsehair brush. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of buff this out now that the oil has seeped in. Guys, those are the basic differences between saddle soap and mink oil. Again, saddle soap is a leather cleaner. It does have conditioning agents in it, but those really don't even add as much as saddle soap takes away. So when you use saddle soap, you do need to use a leather conditioner. One such leather conditioner that you can use is mink oil. That does help sink deep into the pores of the leather and will help weatherproof, will help darken the leather, keep it supple, keep it moisturized. So it's a great tool for that. I think both of these products have a solid place in your boot care kit. So I do recommend having one of these products, especially like mink oil is under $5. I think you can get Kiwi saddle soap under $5. So these are pretty inexpensive products and they add a lot of, you can do a lot of things with them in terms of caring for any leather good, not just boots, but any bags or anything you have. These can help a ton. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give me a thumbs up. And until next time, put your best boot forward.